This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Today, Trump refuses to tone down personal attacks against Harris. Ukraine begins talks over a prisoner exchange with Russia, and Thailand appoints its youngest ever prime minister. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Friday the 16th of August, 2024. US presidential candidate Donald Trump has rejected calls by senior Republicans to tone down his personal attacks against Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. At a press conference in New Jersey on Thursday, Trump said he was, quote, entitled to personal attacks, despite advice from a group of Republicans, including his former primary opponents Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy, as well as former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Trump's 2016 campaign manager Kellyanne Conway, that he should instead be focusing on policy issues. For context, since Harris was announced as the Democratic presidential candidate last month, taking over from incumbent President Joe Biden, Trump has attempted to attack Harris by demeaning her character and identity. For example, earlier this month, while being interviewed by a panel of black female journalists, Trump questioned Harris's mixed identity, asking, is she black or Indian? Then on Thursday this week, he said, I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. For her part, Harris has largely ignored Trump's insults. However, her own campaign has revolved around the term weird to refer to Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance. At a press conference this week, Trump said he's not weird. He was a great student at Yale, he went to Ohio State, graduated at the top of his class. Now, Trump, who has been convicted of 34 criminal charges and is currently awaiting sentencing, then railed against the US justice system, saying it had been weaponized against him as part of election interference by the Democrats. Earlier on Thursday, it was also revealed that Trump's lawyers had appealed to a judge to delay the sentencing until after the 2024 election in November, as it's currently set for September 18th. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefings soon. By the way, we won't actually be here next week, but we hope we'll see you again on Tuesday 27th. And in the meantime, if you want to support the channel, like Alan Turing, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for $1.99. Over to Russia now, where Ukraine says that it's begun talks over a prisoner exchange in the Kursk region. This follows a week of heavy fighting after Ukraine made a surprise incursion into Russian territory, which involved what Ukraine's domestic security service called the biggest capture of the enemy that has been carried out at one time. This also follows comments from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday, in which he said that Ukrainian forces had captured more than 100 Russian servicemen in just one day. While the total number of Russian prisoners captured in Kursk is uncertain, the full figure is likely to be in the hundreds. The incursion, which was launched 10 days ago now, initially saw Ukraine advance rapidly inside Russia. Kyiv's top general, Alexander Syrsky, said on Thursday that Ukraine now holds 1,150 square kilometers in the Kursk region, up from 1,000 square kilometers, and that troops were making between 500 meters and 1.5 kilometers of headway each day in different directions. Ukraine is therefore hoping that its capture of Russians on the battlefield will boost calls for the return of thousands of its own soldiers and civilians, including children who have been taken to Russia during its occupation of parts of eastern and southern Ukraine. Next up, Thailand has appointed its youngest ever prime minister, 37-year-old Paetongtarn Shinawatra, the daughter of divisive former prime minister Thaksin Shinawatra, following a parliamentary vote. This marks the return of the powerful Shinawatra family to the front of Thai politics, which they have dominated for the past 2 decades. For context, the Shinawatra family have repeatedly clashed with the country's military royalist establishment, which has resulted in numerous coups, including one in 2006 that unseated Paetongtarn's father Thaksin. On Friday, though, Paetongtarn secured Thailand's House vote with 2/3 backing, becoming the third Shinawatra family member after her father and aunt to lead the country. But her appointment comes at a difficult time for Thailand, with the economy slowing, household debt near record highs, and the ruling coalition looking unstable. Paetongtarn has also relatively little political experience, having never served in government, but having risen to prominence last year while campaigning for the Shinawatras for Thai party in the late stages of pregnancy. Moreover, her popularity has declined since Thai abandoned its pledge not to work with military-backed parties. And as one political analyst told the Financial Times, Paetongtarn has a long road ahead. She has to work hard to prove that she's someone who answers to the public and not to her father. Next, we bring you an update from Bangladesh, where violent protests gripped the country earlier in the summer. A group of student protesters who ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina have now rejected calls from Bangladesh's two main political parties for quick elections, and are instead considering forming their own party. For context, the protests were in opposition to a law reserving top government jobs for certain parts of the population. Now, these protests have been hailed as a Gen Z revolution, with demonstrators angry about years of jobless growth and shrinking civil liberties, but turned violent with at least 300 people killed in what was the largest bout of violence since Bangladesh's War of Independence from Pakistan in 1971. In the wake of the protests, Prime Minister Hasina then fled, and the country's president dissolved parliament and formed an interim government, paving the way for fresh elections. Now though, student leaders, along with other social groups such as teachers and activists, are discussing forming a new political party to end the country's two-party duopoly. A decision is expected to be made in about a month's time, after the group has consulted with ordinary voters before deciding on a platform. Finally, in today's uplifting news, we discuss sea lion camera crews in Australia who have helped researchers to map their marine habitats. PhD student Nathan Angelakis from the South Australian Research and Development Institute recruited a team of female sea lions from colonies in Olive Isle and Sea Bay, attaching lightweight cameras and GPS loggers to their fur for between 2 and 6 days. Now, these sea lions captured footage more quickly and efficiently than traditional survey vessels, and offered a unique insight into their hunting methods and locations. The footage even revealed their individual food preferences. Some liked a meal of cod, while others preferred cuttlefish. Australian sea lion populations have declined by 60% over the past 4 decades, and it's hoped that by further understanding how seafloor habitats function and how human activity may change them, these ecosystems can be protected in the future. Angelakis said, habitats and areas that are valuable to the Australian sea lions may also be important to other marine species as well.
There's a lot of difficult decisions to make here, and making huge decisions is difficult, even for world leaders. The good thing is that Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data, programming, and AI. Their interactive classes help build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not memorizing. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. For instance, their Predicting with Probability course can help you better understand and assess the world around you. You can learn to wrangle massive datasets, compare distributions, and master fundamental concepts like Bayes' theorem. That might sound a little technical, but with their active learning, you learn this by answering questions like which airline is least likely to have a delay due to weather, and how much more unruly airline passengers have gotten since the pandemic. Data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.